come to an order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Leonard,
Present.
Director O'Halloran,
Here.
Director Seamson is excused tonight. Director Taylor has informed that she would be running a little bit late, and Chair Garcia.
Present.
We have 3 committee members present.
The chair will now ask the secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The chair invites any members of the audience who wish to participate to do so, and asks that those who do not wish to participate to please remain silent during the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being conducted in person from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public access and participation as possible, this meeting is also being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la Junta Escolar de las Escuelas Públicas de Milwaukee. Si desea escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor llame al 312-626-6799. Nuevamente, 312-626-6799. E introduzca el número de reunión 608-130-5362. Nuevamente, el número de reunión es 608-130-5362. Gracias.
Gracias. For each of our items of business, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. For those who wish to speak on tonight's items, they were required to register to speak in advance at the start of the meeting. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. I ask those who are waiting to speak virtually to remain on the platform until you are called upon to speak. After speakers' time is up, they may continue to follow the meeting at one of the broadcast options mentioned previously. For the sake of fairness and to give everyone a chance to speak, the chair reserves the right to limit the length of time allowed to any one speaker. Written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the board. Send this testimony to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53201, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair of the committee. Also, any questions or requests, including those from the public, committee members, or the administration, are to be directed towards the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. For safety of all and to ensure a good order of meeting, harassment and intimidation tactics of any kind will not be tolerated. Anyone who engages in such harassing or intimidating words or actions will immediately be asked to cease. If such behavior continues, a recess will be called and the offending parties will be removed from the meeting before the meeting resumes. Anyone ejected from the meeting may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, he or she will not be allowed to rejoin the meeting. Also, no one other than members of the board, the staff of the superintendent's office, the Office of Board Governance, and the Office of Accountability and Efficiency, and those who have been invited to present or participate in items of business will be allowed on stage before, during, or after meetings of the board and its committees. Also, for a listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting Meetings, Agendas, and Minutes page on the MPS website and choosing Online Agendas. Now let's begin. Madam Secretary, what is item 1?
Item number 1 is a report with possible action regarding the discipline, disproportionality, and progress. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will the administration please present the item?
Chair Garcia and members of the committee, the item before you on this evening's agenda is our monthly report regarding discipline, disproportionality, and progress. Have John Jagman here who will provide an overview, and after which we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. John?
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Chair Garcia, members of the committee, John Jagman, District Discipline Manager. I will now go through our presentation for updates from October. First, we always center ourselves in the 5 priorities for success. This work is specifically looking at how we are improving district and school culture, which will lead to increasing academic achievement and accountability. The monthly reporting for 2022-2023 school year will go within the 4 focus areas of providing proactive supports and interventions, strengthening student, staff, and community collaboration, reconceptualizing the role of school leaders within discipline, and developing staff integration of courageous conversations about race. First, the focus area of providing proactive supports and interventions. In October, we provided the Culture, Climate, and Alternatives to Suspension Toolkit best practice of proactive strategies and frameworks. Once again, this year, each month, we're going to pull a best practice from the toolkit and present it to school leaders and school staff members to really focus in on various best practices. This month, we focused on start requests and how to use those as a proactive approach, and setting and teaching procedures and using pre-correction in the classroom. We also met with the Momentum schools, which are the schools focusing on their school suspensions, and we discussed learning environment behaviors, digging a little bit deeper in what procedures, what students, and what staff might need some more support with those learning environment behaviors. Next, Violence Prevention Program provided professional development at the SST Institute on classroom management. The Violence Prevention Program also facilitated Compassion Resilience cohort. The PBIS coaches supported their school-based teams, including the Tier 1 team and their building intervention teams at all schools across the district. And the Black and Latino Male Achievement Department provided mentoring on their 12 guiding principles at their schools. Looking at continuing to provide those interventions for students as a proactive approach, you can see the year-to-date Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions. The first and primary intervention is the check and check out. And year-to-date, 856 students have participated in that intervention. There are additional Tier 2 interventions of individualized check and check out, social academic instructional groups, behavior assessment intervention plans, or BAPES, and then at the Tier 3 level are FBA BIPs, and then educational wraparound and renew. The second focus area is strengthening student, staff, and community collaboration. The student discipline committees were held at all middle and high schools. Some of the topics that were discussed in October included instructional practices, school pride, and continued community building across the school. We also held our Student Leadership Summit. We had 180 attendees from those student discipline committees across the district. They all engaged in student-selected breakouts. Some of the topics included talking about school spirit, applying to college, the code of conduct, restorative practices, equity, mental health, and leading inclusivity in their schools. Continuing with strengthening student, staff, and community collaboration, the restorative practices team is collaborating with school-based teams. Community school partnership schools are focusing on restorative practices as they promote practice this school year. BMLA collaborated with Marquette University to work on dual enrollment with juniors and seniors to earn ethnic studies credits through Marquette University. PBIS team provided professional development on PBIS in the classroom, moving beyond expectations. The third focus area is reconceptualizing the role of school leaders within discipline. Again, we took that toolkit best practice and we met with all school leaders and dug in further on what is it to look like when you have start statements and you have those expectations, procedures using pre-correction. We also have a monthly data reflection for school leaders where they reflect on their role of school climate, specifically looking at how they will support staff members. And you can see on the graphic here, the top selections by school leaders where they are going to discuss supports with the staff members, practice procedures with students, and then make sure that they are sharing updated best practice with all staff members. Then we have our data analysis as part of the school leadership focus area. You can see our student demographics and then our year-to-date suspension events by race. Then we have our monthly suspensions. Suspensions this month are being reported out through October 25th. That was the last date we were able to pull them to have everything ready for the school board. So this data is through October 25th. You can see year-to-date from last year, we are down 139 suspensions in the month of October. Here we have our total suspensions by grade level, again through October 25th. We are continuing to focus on 8th, 9th, and 10th grade as the top grades with the suspensions. Here are our administrator alternatives to suspension. These are for those behavior referrals that go office managed and the student is working with a school administrator. In those instances, we are not suspending the student. What are those other practices we are doing? You can see we have counsel as the top choice with 971. Additionally, we have administrators engaging with conferences, detentions, mediations, referral to that building intervention team, referral to support staff, including counselors, school psychs, and school social workers, repairing harm circles, and restorative conferences within the restorative practices framework. Our last focus area is developing staff integration of courageous conversations about race. We had additional of those one-day exploration seminars for elementary teachers and school secretaries. The District Equity Leadership Team, or DELT, met. They began to identify areas of focus across the district that they want to look at through this lens of race. Principal Leadership Institute, there were breakout sessions looking at Goldie Muhammad's framework with those school leaders that have read her book and how they can continue to integrate that framework. The Wisconsin Disproportionality Network offered their fall webinars for any staff interested to attend to listen to local and national speakers on building equity across the school district. Our next steps looking into November, we have our community conversation next week on November 9th. We are going to focus on elevating student voice, so we invite all MPS school leaders, school staff, and community members across Milwaukee to please engage with us online on November 9th to help discuss how we are elevating student voice. We are going to provide professional development on that culture, climate, and alternatives to suspension toolkit. Our November focus is going to be on specific classroom strategies for teachers. And then we are going to continue to facilitate those courageous conversations about race exploration seminars, having 2 to 3 a month throughout the school year. Next, we have our monthly highlights. First, I'm going to turn it over to Kim Morath from Violence Prevention, and then we will hear from the principal from Vincent High School.
Thanks, John. Good evening, Chair Garcia, members of the committee. My name is Kim Morath. I'm the Social and Emotional Learning Supervisor. The MPS Violence Prevention Program was originally established in the 80s to provide training and conflict resolution strategies. As research and understanding of prevention programs has improved over time, our work has shifted to the implementation of programs and practices which promote safe and supportive learning environments. To that end, we support schools in the implementation of social and emotional learning programming, including mindfulness, second step, zones of regulation. We also support implementation of bullying prevention programming, trauma-sensitive schools, and school-based mental health supports. Since the start of the 22-23 school year, we've been laying the groundwork for and sustaining implementation of our programming in those areas. Over the course of the last school year, we expanded our school-based mental health partnership into 14 schools, bringing that total number of schools to 38 schools. So the start of this school year has been packed with meetings to get that programming up and running with our partners as quickly as possible. Over the course of the opening weeks of school, we trained all teachers in social emotional learning, specifically in the new digital second step program. which was step one in getting that new program rolled out and being taught in all schools with elementary grades. We're also hosting drop-in sessions and offering technical support. We also trained all new teachers, paraprofessionals, and SSTs in a few key principles of classroom management, which is a precursor to our 3-day classroom management training program, should individuals need or desire additional support in organizing and structuring their learning environments. We are continuing to fine-tune our trauma-sensitive schools assessment tool, including observation protocols, and we've supported the creation of classroom regulation spaces through training in the zones of regulation curriculum, developing guidance for the implementation of calming spaces within classrooms, as well as separate spaces, which some people call things like Zen dens, and then training staff in how to introduce and use those regulation materials. October typically marks the beginning of our professional development offerings, so that has been more recently the focus of our work. We offer a number of different after-school PD options, including a compassion resilience cohort, which supports staff through the development of personal strategies for mitigating the impacts of compassion fatigue and burnout. This course filled to capacity with 25 participants, and we had an additional 5 participants on the waiting list. In addition, we are currently offering a book study focused on trauma-sensitive practices, training on the zones of regulation curriculum, a community of practice for those who are implementing zones to learn from one another. And we've also begun our first 2 series of the 3-day classroom management workshop called COMP. A big project we're focused on is increasing the utilization of the DESA, which is the Devereaux Student Strengths Assessment, as a screening and assessment tool for social and emotional instruction and intervention planning. This tool is available district-wide, is being used on a limited basis by school psychologists and school social workers, as well as by a few schools to pilot what universal screening could look like using this tool. Another place we're just beginning to implement the DESA is at the Success Center, where we're working with the team there to use the tool for instructional planning for referred students. We're also running a compassion resilience cohort for the Success Center staff at 1 staff meeting per month, and we piloted our trauma-sensitive schools assessment process there. Finally, we offered our first monthly collaboration meeting, which invites district staff members who do similar culture and climate type work to come together and share their work, what's working, and opportunities for collaboration. Moving forward, we continue to offer additional professional development opportunities. Our youth mental health first aid trainings are beginning next month and open to all district staff and those who work within our schools. Next month, we're also offering our first coaching comp, professional development for the year. This is a PD that was developed in response to an identified need for supporting teachers with the implementation of classroom management strategies, and wanting to build capacity of staff from within schools to provide that support. A few projects we're working on, we're leading a cross-departmental team to develop a historical trauma training specific to the Milwaukee area, and we're finalizing a book list containing culturally responsive books with social and emotional learning themes. We are offering support in trauma-sensitive schools assessment and action planning and looking to pilot our process with additional schools. On the upcoming PD Day, we're offering a session for high school staff on transformative SEL and a session on 2 key classroom management practices. And finally, we have a classroom management community of practice series beginning later this month for teachers to share challenges and learn ideas from one another for classroom management support.
Thank you, Kim. Chair Garcia, members of the committee, we now have Mr. Evans, proud principal of Vincent High School, to come up.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Garcia and committee members. My name is Ramon Evans, the proud principal and alumni, class of '85 Vincent High School. So I just have to say that. But we're working extremely hard at Vincent. We have 723 students. As you see, 4.1% Hispanic, 85.8% Black, 1.9% white, and 4.1% Asian. Our total suspensions last year at this time was 103. Currently, as of October through October 25th, 2022, we're at 84. Behavior referrals have reduced from 226 last year to 191 this year. We've really, and everybody knows, during the pandemic, we had to get reacclimated into school, and that's staff and students alike. So when we look at what we've done at Vincent, it was based on a lot of the work we did last year to set the groundwork. And it's for students that know the expectations, for students that understand what we expect out of them and what they need to do, they've been really doing a great job. A lot of the students that are new this year, we've been having a lot of parent conferences. Instead of suspending, we've been calling parents in. We want to meet and have data chats. And it's really an awesome thing to have a data chat with a family, parent, guardian, student, and administrator. And on a screen like this, we pull up the student's data. We look at the attendance. We look at the credit summary. We talk about graduation within those 4 years. We talk about behaviors. We pull every screen up on Infinite Campus. Those meetings usually last about 20 minutes. But during those meetings, we're able to build a connection. We have real-life conversations about where do you want to be after high school? How old are you? Student might say 16. How old will you be in 26 years? That's my way of checking their math. But also letting them know that 10 years will go fast. I remember being at Vincent in '85, and 1995 came like that. And we talk about goal setting. So these data chats, they're also motivation sections where the parents, the administration, and the students can get on the same page and really talk about what we expect from them and what we can do for them and what we need from them. And from that, we develop a behavior contract. Most of the behavior contracts is get to class and get to class on time with your materials. That alone goes a long way. And we're able to really iron out a lot of small details, like do you need a Chromebook, do you need supplies, what do you need, your schedule. And so we're working a lot out, and we probably have at least 7 to 8 parent conferences a day with data chats with students. And we're seeing a change in students. These same students that are having a hard time going to class or behavior, we're seeing that change. And it's based on, in my opinion, what we went through last year, setting the tone and getting everyone reacclimated back into the culture of being back in the school and the expectations. But when we go through this and we sign a behavior contract, they know the next step. We're really big on progressive discipline. Now, we'll keep meeting as long as the parents want to meet, because we don't want to suspend. Only reason we are if it's a situation where we hit a certain level of discipline. After those meetings, we put those students' name on a list and we develop our check-in, check-out list with our not only administrative staff, not only support staff, but teachers. Safety assistants play a big part in this. And it's just building relationships. This is all about relationships. Even with the check-in, check-outs, it's about relationships. And we always talk a lot about showing love, kindness, and respect. And I've been saying that since I arrived at Vincent in 2019, show each other love, kindness, and respect, and we can make a difference. And I really think that's making a huge impact. And we talk about student mentoring. With the mentoring, we have staff members, and we have outside agencies. And so I really want to thank Student Service Department, because we went through some things last year, and we were introduced to some community advocates that are vendors, and they work with our students, and we're seeing the improvement. So those student mentors, whether it's Mohib Dyer, whether it's My Sister's Keeper, we have like 4 different groups that work with our young people. So they are part of the check-in, check-out, the safety team, the administrators, the support staff, and teachers. We're all in this together. And so we're really big on celebrating student success. We've worked to implement, and we're still working to implement, a positive incentive program called the HERO System. Students can earn points like earning money on a credit card, where they can attend monthly incentives, whether it's a movie, a school dance, or a pizza party, or ice cream social, whatever the students want. And that's where student voice comes in. We hear what they want to do, but they have to earn a certain amount of points. And they can also purchase things out of the bookstore. So celebrating students is a huge, huge part. And like I stated, the community partnerships, they come in, they do groups once a week. But the beautiful thing is, the next bullet, they connect with our young men's assemblies and young ladies' assemblies, which we conduct once a month. So there's some things I need to say and we need to say to our young men. And there's some things that need to be said to our young ladies. We don't put them together because they like to show out for each other. But during those assemblies, I'll be honest, it's powerful. students come and they say, "Oh, Principal Evans, thank you for doing this." Like, we cover so much during those assemblies. They come in, they have some motivational music, and I might talk to them about, I'm always about standards. This allows me to still teach, to stay connected to teaching. What does that mean to you? And we have a question and answer session, or they can give some feedback, almost like an elbow partner and share out. Then we go into the PBIS. We talk about the PBIS cool tools. We talk about expectations. We talk about consequences. And some of these conversations are real, and the student's voice is being heard because it's a back and forth in conversation. And after that, we go into celebrating the student of the month, the most improved student, and of course, the student with the most improved attendance. These motivation factors, we allow students to celebrate, they clap for each other, and it's a brotherhood and a sisterhood that we're developing. And I will say this, the fun part is we do a minute to win it. So the students that's the student of the month, or the student that's the most improved, they come up and we just get some cones, some cups, and they stack pyramids, and they go against a staff member. And that's building that relationship, because it's all about relationship building. And so when they do that, and they're cheering for each other, and it's a fun time. So after we do the minute to win it, and then we have our guest presentator. The people that come in that do the mentoring group, like Mohib, Brother Mohib Dyer, he's always done this. He's been doing it for years, doing a presentation with the young men about just life, and then he has the casket. But the young people, they take part in that final culminating activity during the young men's and young ladies' assemblies. And I think that everything that we're doing is impacting our data. We have an increase in attendance by 3%, and of course a decrease in suspensions by 10%. And it's just my prayer that that continues throughout this 22-23 school year. But we're working really hard. Like I said, we meet with 7 to 10 parents a day with these data chats. To me, that's the big piece, and just really working with students on expectations and setting goals. Thank you.
That
Thank
concludes
you.
our presentation. We're prepared to answer any questions you may have.
No, thank you for the presentation, and specifically to, all the data. So Mr. Boswell, Mr. Jenkman, thank you for that. And Mr. Evans, I think that there's a lot to be celebrated of the changes that you are seeing in your school culture, that I think you nailed it right in the head in terms of the importance of partnership, across administration, parents, staff, the students. So it makes me really happy just to see that, you're seeing the results, because I feel that many times we talk about shifting culture and we expect that to happen through osmosis, but you're putting in the work and you're getting the results. So congratulations. So, so do committee members have any questions or wish to make any remarks? Director Halloran.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for all the parent meetings that you're doing. That sounds like it's a lot of work, but I think bringing clarity to parents and students, and the staff, everybody on the same page about what's needed to succeed. Sometimes when you feel like you're behind, you don't even know how to ask for help. And so clarifying what the needs are is really great. And I want to thank all the parents who are making the time. I know just getting through the day can be really difficult for a lot of our families. So the fact that they're able to find the space in their schedule to help their students succeed, it really makes me happy to hear. So I really just wanted to thank you for that. And I love following the Vincent agricultural program every time I get the chance to talk about it. Like the Facebook page, I just love following all that you're doing there. So thank you so much.
Director Leonard?
So I was going to approach this a little bit differently. I looked at your climate enrichment and your bullet points, and I always wonder, many schools have bullet points and they put things up there, and I was intently listening to where you were coming from, because to make the changes in a building requires more of a dynamic approach, and I'm assuming that that's what's happening in your building. In fact, I would like to see it myself. That's just how I am. I've seen it in some of the buildings I've been in, so I think I appreciate the fact that you are found a way to move away from suspensions by getting those parents involved. I know it's a lot of work on your part and on your staff because it's a lot of back and forth. I understand that. And I guess just the building relationships, to me, there's no other way to do it. And when you talk about the assemblies, I'm going to ask you a question. I guess it's working for you because all of you are connected to each other? Oh, can I ask it that way? I'm not sure how I want to approach this, but go ahead.
Administration.
Director Garcia and committee. Yes, it is about connections, and it is about relationships. It's about being visible and verbal. It's about motivation and encouragement. And when we're in those assemblies and we're hearing that music brings everybody together. We're a School of Agriculture, right? But I'm from Lincoln Center of the Arts. And so music brings a lot. And so when they're coming in, they have that motivational music. And when they sit down, it's just setting the tone. And to have a conversation, what does that mean to you? But it's building a brotherhood. When you have, and I'll say it, when you have older men or older ladies in a room with all young men or a room with all young women, that's powerful. And so we're building that relationship. Like we have our safety assistants, our supports, like we're introducing each other. We're getting to know each other. So that alone, so if we see each other outside of the assemblies, within the hallways or the cafeteria, the classrooms, sometimes, a lot of times I don't have to say anything. I can just give a look. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, Evans, so it builds that relationship. It builds that expectation. And like I said, it's brotherhood and sisterhood. And honestly, since I've arrived at Vincent, it's about showing each other love, kindness, and respect. And I truly believe that in my heart. And the students get that, and they know we truly care. Does that answer the question?
That's you made me really happy. I'll
Okay.
be honest with you. I feel like, and I wanted to say this, I thought about this today. I feel like I think that our district is truly trying to put things in place to change our climate and culture in our buildings. It is not successful in every building. That's obviously clear. So when you look at and I should have asked Matt before I did my math here, so I might be in trouble, but hang on. But when I was looking at the percentages of suspensions, if we would have that same drop and use that method and see what's happening with those students, today we would be talking about 200 suspensions in the month of October across the district versus almost 1,800. So I think it shows that it can be done, but it's going to be a building by building kind of thing. It's sort of like a door to door. It's a building by building. I just needed to say that. Thank you very much, and I'll be quiet now.
Any other questions? Yes, Director O'Halloran.
I actually have a question related to the violence prevention piece. I was wondering what tools we have in place to help young people use social media appropriately. And it seems like sometimes things that are happening outside of the school are carrying into the school. So I was just wondering if we have any sort of curriculum or if that is an ongoing topic of conversation, like maybe just not use the Snapchat. Is that a curriculum?
Administration?
Chair Garcia, members of the committee, John Jagman, discipline manager, and Kim can add to that. Two pieces that I know are available is Children's Wisconsin, used to be Children's Hospital, has a bunch of online curriculum. Part of it is their bullying awareness. That does integrate some online bullying information, resources, knowledge for families and for students. So there's some within that as well. Also, as part of the student discipline committees at the middle and high schools, that is a topic that they are talking about, is how to raise awareness amongst their peers and things of that nature. But I don't know if Kim had anything.
Chair Garcia, Director O'Halloran, members of the committee. Yeah, that's something that we talk about regularly with bullying, and is a part of our bullying prevention training. We talk about cyberbullying as well, because interestingly, when cyberbullying was kind of first becoming a thing, there was some hypotheses around like students who are bullied in person may turn around and become bullies online, or just thinking about who bullies. And what they found is that really students who engage in bullying behavior online are engaging in bullying behavior in school, and vice versa. And so really addressing it through comprehensive bullying prevention programming and talking about the importance of kind of the see something, say something online as well as in person. Also, when we talk to parents about bullying education, thinking about a lot of times students won't tell their parents what's going online because sometimes parent response is just to protect them from that and take away their devices. But our children's lives exist on their devices now, and they miss out on a lot if they don't have them. And so there's that fear of students, well, if I tell them what's going on my phone, they're just going to take my phone away or take away that access. And so making sure that's a part of our education with parents as well around bullying. The other thing that we have been looking at, and I know we've reached out to work with instructional technology on, is just digital citizenship. A lot of times we talk about cyberbullying, but a lot of it comes down to just being a good citizen online, and looking at partnering with them around some education and curriculum. There are curriculums out there that do that, and I know that they have been working with those as well.
Follow-up.
Thank you. Those are all really good resources that you mentioned. So is there any coordinated communication that's going to parents on this, or is that like at the school level as things percolate up, like maybe then the school addresses it, or is there any effort from central office or coordinated across the district?
Chair Garcia, members of the committee, John Jagman. So the Act Now and all the supports through Children's Wisconsin is coordinated through the school counseling department, so they are asked to reach out to the school counselors, but anyone can go to Children's Wisconsin. They call the program Act Now. They have videos and resources in English and Spanish. They were adding other languages, so they may have other languages, but the primary contact at the schools are the school counselors. There's other folks that support it, psychs and social workers, but the school counselors are all trained in it as the first point of contact.
More follow-up?
Thank you. I don't know if it would be appropriate to add it to our website, or if there would be a way to text, like I get the messenger, like if parent coordinators could have tools, just like how to talk to your kids about this, because I think it also is something that starts at home. Like, how do you have these conversations? Because to your point around maybe the students aren't going to bring it up to their parents because they're worried about getting their devices taken, but I'm just noticing a trend of things that are happening in school are happening outside of school, which is coming back into the school. It's just like this cycle that seems to be feeding itself, and maybe this is just based on one, experience, and it's not happening. But I would assume that it's not only happening at one school. So anything that we can do to, I guess, have that conversation proactively might be helpful to reduce some of the incidents that wind up in here is all I'm not formally requesting that, but if it's possible to communicate that to parents somehow, that would be great. Thanks.
Administration.
Chair Garcia, members of the committee, the team has taken note of that, and we will be looking at this, and when we're looking at tips that we will provide for parents on the website, as well as through the newsletters, as well as individual letters that go home to families on a weekly basis in backpack mail. This is information that we will gather and make sure that's addressed throughout the school year. Thank you.
Yes, and I had a question for Ms. Morath, and in that vein, I know that, as a city, we have a lot of attention and resources and departments that's going specifically for violence prevention. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about how are we plugging into those wider conversations, ultimately about community safety and well-being.
Chair Garcia, members of the committee, Travis Pinter, Senior Director of Specialized Services. We're doing quite a bit in that way. We've got a, you mentioned the Office of Violence Prevention for the city, and so as Kim mentioned, we have a similar title here, but it actually has gone kind of in a different direction. But we have a strong relationship with that office, and we've gone through some personnel change recently. But for the last handful of years especially, we've been in a close relationship with them, working on various ways through some of their programming you may have heard about, whether it be Credible Messenger or there's a Safe Passage program they have. We've been communicating with them on a number of ways with their upper administration and OVP. In addition, the area has a VR Fast meeting that I will go to and sort of help represent MPS as well, which goes around gun violence in the community and the ways in which we can work together on finding ways to implement programming and/or interventions that would help reduce that. And so those are the two main things I can think of right off the top of my head. But that involves coordination with everything from medical college, to children's, to law enforcement, to the fire department, to medical examiner's office even. So we're in quite a few relationships.
No, that is good to hear, so thank you, because I know that a lot of the times when, when I'm out in the community, there's specific questions as to how we collaborate with, initiatives. So it's just great to see that, we've been a partner, we want to continue that, it's something that is obviously a priority when we're talking about the safety of our students, our families, and our community. So thank you for that. All right, is there any more comments, questions from committee members? All right, Director Leonard.
It's just a technical question. When I read these different categories for suspensions, what defines the difference between chronic disruption and disorderly conduct? How do we define that?
Administration.
Chair Garcia, members of the committee, John Jagman, Discipline Manager. So we have the district's code of conduct that everyone has access to. It's the Administrator's Guide to Discipline as well. So chronic disruption is engaging in conduct that is disruptive to the learning environment, engaging in behavior that interferes with the teacher ability to productively teach, and has interventions that have been implemented over time and have not been remediated the disruptive behavior. So there's a big focus on the chronic of documented interventions over time in the classroom environment. Then disorderly conduct is engaging in behavior that causes a disruption in the educational environment and or causes property damage or minor injury. So disorderly conduct takes that behavior and it's kind of more elevated, where there is a severe disruption, there is a threat to staff or student safety, where the chronic disruption is more someone is talking out of turn. Over time, I'm trying to move their seat, I've talked to the parents, I've tried these different strategies, but the class is still kind of continuing. Where disorderly conduct, the specific part is that causes property damage or minor injury, or is a threat to cause property damage or minor injury.
Follow-up?
Thank you. No, that's good. That's good. Thank you.
Excellent. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, that was the last item on tonight's agenda.
Before we adjourn, can I just put in a plug that we are exactly 1 week out from Election Day, and so if you don't have a plan to vote, you should get on that. It's kind of important.
And I do want to say on record that there's also no request for public testimony, so we're not skipping over that. We just don't have any requests.
Thank you.
And thank you, Director O'Halloran, for plugging in the importance of using your voice. So if you are able to exercise that right, please do so. It's very important for the sake of what public education is and means, for our city. So thank you for that. All right, so we said there's no more items?
Madam Chair, that is correct.
All right, well, being that there's no further business before the committee, this meeting is adjourned.